For the month of April, I took it upon myself to learn everything there is to know about Anthony Bourdain. I read 4 books, watched 20 or so episodes of his shows. I watched 2 of his talks and a lot of pictures. So here's everything I got to learn about Anthony Bourdain. Now you may be asking yourself, why do you care so much about Anthony Bourdain? That is a crazy story. Last year, I visited 7 countries. The whole thing was mainly brought by one quote that I could not forget, and I didn't even know who had made it. Be a traveler, not a tourist. Later in life, I found out that this was actually said by the great Anthony Bourdain, and it's actually a pretty big model for my life. You see, Anthony Bourdain was really known for being a chef. Eventually, one day he writes this blog, basically, and says all the truth and the things you need to know about the kitchen lifestyle, and it was a pretty big hit. He starts getting more of these promotions to become a writer and step away so much from the kitchen lifestyle and really talk about the things that he's passionate about. Later in life, he eventually gets an opportunity to host his own show, which was called No Reservations. This was incredible. This was probably one of the first things I ever saw of him. He got to travel the whole world and tell you the truth about what it's like to be a person there and be a traveler, not a tourist. So staying away from the classy and fancy hotels and truly expanding and seeing what the real community is like. Going to the really difficult parts of a country, including places where he talks about was during the war. It is a true realistic perspective of what the real person lives like. I'm not just seeing the cushy lifestyle that you only get to do on a touristic side. Anytime I travel, I'm really trying to get into the nitty gritty. I try to stay away from the fancy hotels, not only because I can't afford it right now, but it's just part of the culture and I love it. And it's everything that I get out of traveling. And this guy did it. This guy did it for 20 plus years. This was the first book I started with, No Reservations. It is such a great book that I did rent this from the library. I will be buying a copy so I can just... All right, next up we got In the Weeds. This is his main colleague. This guy, his name is Tom, and he is basically with him for all the shows that he ever creates. And he knew himself how to tell the stories that he knew Anthony wanted to portray. And he really get to know exactly what the person was like, even the bad parts. And this book stresses that so much, that Anthony Bourdain was not this crazy cool person that we saw on TV. Even though he was this crazy cool person that we saw on TV, he was just a guy with issues and dilemmas and traumas and yeah. The book actually starts off talking about the day that Anthony Bourdain does die. Unfortunately, Anthony passes away by himself. But a big portion of why I wanted to know about Anthony Bourdain was that he lived such a cool life, like the coolest life, and it wasn't enough. He gave up. Kind of a running joke of this book is, man, Anthony is going to really regret doing that tomorrow. This book really shows a lot of pain and reality of who Anthony Bourdain was. He was human. All right, anyways, this is the 3rd book that I read. This is called Hungry Ghost. It's written by Anthony Bourdain and then drawn by one of his friends. It's pretty cool. I mean, like, as far as comic book goes, it's a comic book. I don't really know much about them. I barely know how to read them, but it's just a big bunch of crazy stories, and at the end of it, you get a recipe. So, pretty cool. All right, this is the last one by Anthony Bourdain. To be completely honest with you, I could only get through the first couple of pages. Kind of got tired of reading at a certain point. Anthony Bourdain has taught me so much. Part of me thinks that Anthony Bourdain is someone who I aspire to be. Part of me also thinks I couldn't be that. Sometimes you don't want to meet your heroes, and that's cool, you know? So what this month has taught me is be yourself. Be true to yourself. Don't forget how good company is. The big moral of this story and why I really wanted to learn about Anthony Bourdain is to figure out when it went wrong. How can someone with all this fame and glory and love and be cared for by millions and millions of people still end up, signing off? I think that's pretty difficult to understand, difficult for anyone to understand. I can't really try to. The one thing I think is something I would learn from his mistake is not realizing that people are out there that care about you. Maybe you don't know them yet, maybe you do. Maybe some people don't care about you. I think it's important to figure out the life where you are surrounded by those who do. Thanks, Anthony. I'm gonna keep watching your shows. I'm gonna keep watching your podcasts and everything that I could have ever found about you. Thanks for inspiring me to live my life the way I have, and I will continue to do the best in your honor. So, see you next time.